be the biggest ass you know. Hello, hello, guys. Welcome back to this week's episode of Yip to My Yap. I'm still Erica Starr, and today we are in my bedroom. Why are we in my bedroom? And why am I wearing eye masks? And why am I in pajamas? And why am I so comfy? Because we're talking about starting the year off fresh and starting it new and calm and at ease and at peace. And that's just how I want to go about. I mean, that's crazy hopeful thinking to be like, oh, that's how I want to go about the rest of the year. But I would like for at least my brain to be here for the rest of the year. So we're doing my first solo episode in a very, not so, kind of way. Um, so one thing I want to talk about today is something that happened at the end of last year that I thought was really interesting and put like this little thought on my head that I'm not crazy and that I'm not stupid for doing little silly things that I do because, sometimes like I'm a little wacky and I'm like, you know what, Erica, like you shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have done that on the internet or you shouldn't have thought that or whatever because my little wacky thoughts made me some money and I'm going to tell you how. So Moo Deng, the hippo, the hippo in Thailand, that little slimy gal. I'm obsessed with that little fucker. I fucking love that hippo. That hippo is the cutest thing. I love her. She's just biting people. I don't know if you guys have seen the moo walk, but she be walking backwards. She be doing her little thing. Love that hippo. And my boss and I at work, like I'm always like, have you seen the hippo? Have you seen the hippo? Have you seen this meme? Have you seen that one? And I'm just keep her updated on like all the silly stuff. And at work, I do this thing every week where I'm on screen, on camera, and I post to our vertical platforms where I'm just talking with a green screen behind me. And I'm just talking about whatever the hottest news is for that week. And I told my boss, I was like, listen, like I know there are serious things going on, but can I do a video on the hippo? And she was like, yeah, it's a slow week. Go ahead. So I did. And even when I was recording it, I was like, this is kind of silly. This is kind of foolish, but I'm rocking with it. I believe in it. So I'm gonna do it. And I'm talking about the hippo, and I'm just like, this hippo is, she's a little heavy gal. I called her a chonk in one part. Like it was such a silly freaking video. I posted that when she was like, popping. So I want to say what, end of the summer? I'm bugging. No, she was popping like early October. So that was that. It was just another one of our regular videos. And then in December, I get a message from Google. And you guys know how Google does their year-end search and they do that video where it's like, these are the things that people searched up this year. So they came out with theirs. And you have all these things about like the female sports players. You got all these things about like country music emerging and all that. And then there's a part and you can look it up. You're not gonna see me, but you're gonna hear me. In the part that they talk about Moo Dang, they're like, and something about like cute animals, and it's like Moo Dang, Moo Dang, Moo Dang. One of those little echoed Moo Dangs is my voice from the video that I posted through my job of me talking about Moo Dang. And I managed to make a nice amount of money off of them using a second and a half of my voice. So all that to say, you're not silly and you're not foolish if your silly thoughts and ideas can make you money. And that could be taken really out of context. But I'm just saying, if you think it'll work, if you think somebody will pick it up, if you think that there's an audience, if you think someone's going to be interested, do the damn thing. Go into the year that way. Just do what it is you want to do. Because if you're super interested in whatever you're doing, somebody else probably is. You know how many people are just making really freaking niche things or just making content with like really oddly specific ideas who have a shit ton of people following, commenting, like, yeah, I get that. I understand that. I feel that. I felt that. I'm gonna send this to all my friends. You know, like you just do it. I mean, obviously I had the help of my job and the audience that my job has that, had it eventually reach Google, but so what? Just You just never know. You just never know. Cause I wouldn't have thought that that random Friday story that I decided to work on that day would make me, excuse me, would make me a nice little chunk of cash. So that's that. Um, Outside of that, I just thought it was a cool story to share because what the heck. Um, one I guess like piece of advice that I want to give people for going into the new year is allowing yourself to have a really ugly weekend, like at least every other month. Because I realized this because I think it was last weekend, I I didn't feel like shit. I just looked like shit, but I was getting shit done. So like I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have anything or anywhere or any whatever that I needed to dress up for, that I needed to like bare minimum wear concealer for. Nothing. I didn't need to do my hair. My hair was it was a nest of hair. Like I was going to the gym and I had this bun in and I was just reworking the bun. Ooh, I was reworking the bun each day and whatever you got was whatever you got. So yeah, also I had an ugly weekend and I got so much done. So freaking much done. Like obviously I made it to the gym like I said. I was keeping up with my protein shakes. I was just keeping up with eating because not gonna lie, keeping up with eating a decent number of meals and enough to keep up with like, maintaining the weight gain and stuff at the gym is hard. It's really freaking hard. So to say I was able to eat, the right number of meals and take it in the right, you know, amount of food, that's a lot. That's an accomplishment. Um, what else? Like, I did so many things. There are like three big things, but I want to get to those at the end. Oh, I washed like 3 loads of laundry. I went grocery shopping, and that was huge because I just get like 5 ingredients at a time. I just always go grocery shopping. I get as much as I could carry, but I got a decent chunk of stuff this time, enough to allow me to have cooked for the following week. I got what the hell else did I get done? I need to work on my memory. I got a lot done. Like I had okay, let me just say it like this. I had a to-do list and there were 17 things on the to-do list and I got them all done in the weekend. And I attribute that success to me being not being ugly, but being able to be ugly all weekend because all the tasks didn't need me to get on a Zoom call, didn't need me to get, meet anybody in person, nothing. It was just a whole bunch of very tedious things that all built up throughout the week or throughout honestly the past month because I'm just hanging by a thread. Uh, and I was able to get it done. And it was great. So what I'm saying is to allow yourself to just be ugly for like to really like not care about your appearance because I feel like working on your appearance throughout the day takes up a decent chunk of your day. At least when you're a girl, like if you're focused on how your hair looks, how your makeup looks, and the outfits you're wearing. Because girl, I was just wearing sweats. I was just wearing big old sweaters, and I'm in New York. It's cold, so I'm just layering on layers and layers and layers. So nobody's really looking at who's looking at me. Nobody's looking at me. So it was just nice. But two major things that I did that weekend was I built with my own two hands. I built a vanity and I built this little closet for my camera gear. Dude, first off, buying it was a thing in itself. Like, these are two expensive adult purchases. I'm 24. So, I don't know, I kind of felt like big shit when I bought it. Then it got here and I said, whoa, now I gotta build it. And the first thing, so I built the closet first, and the closet was like it was easy. Like I'm not like I don't not know how to do these things. Like I'm a handy person. Like the closet was easy. I was like da 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 da, very nice. I was able to follow the pictures. It was great, amazing, 10 out of 10 experience. All my stuff fits perfectly in there. All of my bags, like my camera gear stuff. Holy cannoli, it's a dream. I'm so happy with it. And I put that in the corner of my room. I was like, cool, done. And I was tired, but I just got a second wind. I said, I'm gonna build a vanity. Took me a hot minute. It took me a day and a half, but I got most of it done that night. And it was tearing me to pieces. This thing, it's got two drawers on it. and then has a seat. And that seat comes out, and because that seat turns into, like, it looks like it's part of the vanity when it's tucked in. But when you take it out, the top of the seat comes off and there's stuff in there, and there's also a drawer on the bottom of the seat. So this is like a whole contraption. And then there's a mirror on top that like flips open, and then there's a shelf on the side that folds out. Like, this is a reason I got this vanity, because I'm such a fan of um anything that has storage, but you can use it, for other things when everything's all the way. So yeah, that thing killing me. I was so done. I was just like, why did I buy this? I hate this. I hate everything. Blah blah blah. And then I put it together and I was like, wow, I did that. I am that girl. I'm Bob the Builder. I'm Handy Manny. I'm all of the things. I felt so good about myself. And then I put that to the side of my room because I don't like clutter in the middle of my room. And that's when my brain wanted to just go like, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I need to rearrange my room. I had to feng shui this thing because I was like, I hate where everything is. Nothing feels right, doesn't look right. I like, it doesn't even make sense for the way I move around my room. All this stuff wanted to die. So then I started moving things around. Everything I moved around, things I moved around, moved back around. It was a mess. But I say all this to say that I think that this is a great way to start your year. So if you are privileged enough to, just be in a financial place to be able to like buy yourself that one big purchase you've been holding off on for the whole year or whatever, that would just make your life simpler or make your life easier. It sounds like, I guess, cliche, but now's the time to do it. The beginning of the year. Just do it. Just do it. Because everyone wants to get into New Year's resolution mode. Everybody wants to be like, I could do this, I can do that. I'm so motivated. But it's like, if nothing in your space feels new, feels fresh, feels like it's the beginning of the year, it's like, it's the same thing about like, it's the same thing with how Christmas doesn't feel like Christmas unless there's a tree in your living room, or how like Halloween doesn't feel like Halloween unless you dress up with your friends. Like, nothing is anything unless you make it that. So it's gonna be a regular fucking Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If your room still looks the same and it still looks messy and it still looks just as messed up as it did last year when you were in that space stressing about X, Y, and Z. I feel like when you upgrade your space, you upgrade your mind, because it's your space is the one thing that you're gonna see all the time, all the freaking time. Like, how people say, like, you're the only person that has to live with you for the rest of your life. You're always in your body. Like, for the most part, wherever you live, I mean, unless you're someone who moves around a lot, doesn't even fucking matter. But where you live is what you're taking in every day. If you're taking in this messy space and there's clothes all over the floor and there's dishes piling up to here, and you're just, everything's just messy, so is your mind. Your space will always be a reflection of your mind. And I don't care what anybody says, that's exactly what it is. 100% what it is. And people can say, like, I know how to maneuver around my mess. Well, that's how you're working in your brain. You're just ignoring all the mess. So, uh, all that to say, I feel like just having these things, like, they they weren't okay. They weren't huge purchases, but they were big enough. Like the closet, they were both like the vanity was probably like $200, and the closet was like, I want to say like 110 or maybe even 90. And they make such a huge difference, because for me, the way that at least my brain works is just like, if I have new ways to navigate my space that are fresh and exciting, at least to me, because I get excited by convenience and efficiency. Um, if I can have that in my space, then it's really easy to work in that space. It's really easy for my brain to breathe, because I I think of everything in a very animated way, and I feel like I can see and feel my brain literally burning out when it is. Like, I can feel myself overheating, and it's disgusting. And the reason I'm even doing this podcast in a very like self-carry kind of vibe is just because that's one of the most important things when you're in this New Year's resolution kind of space, because you can't do anything new. You can't be productive unless like you're good. Like, you can't start from fucking rock bottom, but I'm gonna do everything, and your mental space isn't even like in a neutral spot. Like, work on Like before you think about like, okay, just understand what I mean when I say this because obviously I know finances are a thing, whatever, and all that. But before you go like diving into job searching, or before you go like jumping into the gym, or before you go, doing all your typical New Year's resolution things, just make sure things are good at home. Like, I mean, if you live alone, your space. If you live with family, make sure that you're not coming home to people who piss you off, or that you're not coming home to people who, just don't make you feel good or stop you from being your best. And that doesn't mean, to not come home to them. It just means have those conversations with those people. Maybe finally have that moment where you tell them like, you know what? I don't feel like I'm doing okay mentally or at all in my life because of you. Maybe you just have to do that. And if you're in a position that you can't, then before you do anything else, find a way to move out. Figure that out. Like I feel like when you set goals, you can't really set goals without fixing, you know, the bigger problems in your life. Um and I feel like that's honestly what I did because I'm speaking from experience. Like I would have never started this podcast. I would have never done a lot of the things I've done like work-wise, career-wise because like scheduling and stuff. I wouldn't have done a lot of things if I was still living back at home. And so you will hear me talk a lot about my space and why I like to keep it a certain way because it was a space I didn't have before. And without this space, I couldn't be Erica Starr on Yip to my app. So yeah, like my brain, if I was living back at home, would not would not be able to function actually at all to be able to run a million and one things, keep the 9 to 5 and run a podcast and keep up with the gym and see friends and be a dog mom. It's a lot. So that's that. Um, Another thing that I want to talk about is buying yourself gifts. And once again, like, I don't want you guys thinking that this is like a money thing. Buying yourself gifts is just a general term, but that could even mean once again more just some more self-care stuff, like just giving yourself more time to do anything really, just more time for you. And whatever that time is, whatever you do with that time is up to you. But like I feel like that's really important because these kind of it goes kind of this goes hand in hand with the whole space thing. But I had this painting that I did on my wall last year of like my apartment's like New York theme. That's kind of the whole thing. And around my television, I have why I say television? Such an old lady. Whatever. Around the TV, I had these big letters that I painted. They were like the subway station letters all around the TV. And I love it. I still love it. But I was just like, I just want to switch things up. And I like mixing things that keep my brain happy, healthy, and productive with things that, make my space feel nicer. So I was like, I'm going to paint over these letters and I'm going to make a whole new mural. And so I am currently doing exactly that. And I think that giving myself the time to paint this thing and be detailed about it and focus on it and treat it with just as much time, effort, and work as I would my job or anything that I'm passionate about. Oh my gosh, it's the best. I don't need to go to the club. I don't need to I don't need to talk on the phone with friends. I mean, I like doing that, but I don't need to. I don't need to do anything foolish. I don't need to go out for drinks. I just need to be home, painted my little mural, my little music on in the background. I'm set. Give me a bowl of cinnamon toast crunch on the side. Ooh. Ooh, I'm Picasso. It just feels so nice. And that's what works for me. So I just want you to be able to take some time to do something that just makes you really happy, really freaking happy. For as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else or yourself, just set aside that time because I said this in the previous New Year's resolution episode, but it's just like, if you don't set aside that time for yourself and you can't like just give yourself that space to let your brain rest, you're not going to get anything done. You're not going to get anything productive done. So that's that. Um, but on the other side though, for those of you who do want to buy things, I would say buy yourself things that just make your life easier. And I'm not saying get yourself a new pair of shoes. That's just absolutely not what I'm saying. Like for me, I bought myself a water pick. And generally, like I have clean teeth, but they'd be cleaner if I had a water pick to really like flush out the gunk every day. It's like you get a freaking dental cleaning every morning. Amazing. 10 out of 10. I had one when I was a kid because my mom had braces and I was just playing with it. But that stuff is just a powerful thing. I was like, whoa. So I didn't really use it. But now that I'm older, I was like, you know what? It might be nice to have a water pick. I got myself a water pick. Ugh, what a time. What a time. It's so great. It's so nice to buy yourself things that you need. Because that's another thing. There are things that you know you need. There are things you know you need and you don't buy them. And you're like, when I get into a decent amount of money, like I'm going to buy it. Whether that be a desk, a bed, like just things you actually need, like a type of chair in the living room or like a certain knife set because you always cook a certain thing or a juicer or like a really specific can opener, like something like there's just so many things that people need and they don't get because it's like, that's just that's just how people are. Like you're just like, well, technically I could live without it. My life would be harder. So I'm not gonna spend the money and I'd rather deal with the difficulty. And it's like, no. Like if there's a way to make your life easier, if you should gift yourself anything, it's that thing. It's not some new clothes or a jacket or anything that's just, to be flashy and annoying. But it's nice to be flashy and annoying after you've taken care of yourself. So it's all about balance, baby. It's yin and yang. It's yin and yang. But on a more serious note, um, I I'm excited for the new year. Like I'm just happy to be here. And I think that as just as corny as it sounds and all the cliches and yada yada yada, the new year is the time to really just like get your life back together because it's at least in New York. Like I say this because the seasons affect the way that I do literally freaking everything. Um I say this because it's fucking freezing. It's cold. It's brick. It's all the words. It's cold. It's really cold. It's terrible. It's a fucking tundra. And it's the perfect time to hibernate because, like, I'm very much the planets and the sun and the moon and the stars. Is if you're an avid listener, you'd know. And in the same way that animals hibernate, because they're like, you know what? Like, I get it. Like, the way their bodies work, they store the food, they sleep, they wake up, and they're like, wow, whatever. But, in nature, animals just give up and they go to sleep and they're like, I'll be back. I think humans should do that too. Can we go to sleep for a few months at a time? No. But we could definitely slow down. We can enjoy our time with people. We could, put our heads down and work a bunch. Just do something that fulfills you in this time that we have where life isn't really, popping and exciting for everybody. People aren't going out every weekend. People are spending time with family. Like just do things that you want to do with people that you love and people that you care about. That will always be like my underlining thing. Um, where was I going with this? Oh, yes. Use this time while it's cold and all that to really just think. Because you're by yourself anyways and it's cold and you're probably home. And if you're fortunate enough to have heat, you're just laying in bed, just thinking, you're just live, laugh, loving, hopefully. And I say use that quiet time while you have it to think about where you want to go. And in the same way that maybe you feel like you're starting to rock bottom, so's the earth, you know? Like, I mean, that's how I see the seasons, at least, or, like, we're under the snow and we're cold, and if you're a tree, you're leafless and you're just waiting to bloom. And I think that that's great. I think that, my whole little rebirth happens in the spring when the world turns on again and the leaves start turning green. But that's just how I see the world. And it's a little thing I've adopted or whatever. Cause I was just talking to someone the other day and I was just saying, like, a lot of my life has to do, a lot of like how I think about my life and where my life goes has to do with whatever the earth is doing at the time. So if the earth is defrosting, and I mean, it's always defrosting, the earth is dying. So like we're going to be drowning in a little bit. But if, my immediate surroundings, if everything's defrosting and the flowers are blooming, so am I. Like I just, the, whatever, the weather is doing is what motivates me to do whatever I got to do. Like today, I was supposed to go to the gym today. I was like super gung ho about going to the gym. I was like, after this, and this is done, I'm going to go to the gym. I checked the weather app. It's 19 degrees. My gym is a 20-minute walk away. I said, yeah, nope, 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 nope. No thanks. Wasn't meant for me. And though that's a very like, direct like cause and effect kind of thing, it's it's a decent example of like how I go about living and all that. But um I did decide to record this podcast, and I decided to clean my whole apartment or whatever to replace going to the gym. So I had to replace one productive thing with another because I would have not gone to the gym another day to really like clean out the apartment and throw out a bunch of stuff that I don't need and essentially do like some spring cleaning in the middle of the winter. And I think that's a fair trade. So, um, all of that to say, oh my God, that's such a, I use that transition a lot. Whatever. I'm going to put it on a hat, make some merch. I don't know. But all of that was to say to really use this time to just, as much as you can, do life like the animals do. You know, take a break, take a nap, take things slower. Life is gonna, it's ebbs and flows, baby. Ebbs and flows. And everybody seems to be fucking going through it right around the holidays. So it's not just you. And this collective stressed energy is not helping anybody. So it's okay. Get through it. You will get through it. You got through it last year and the year before and the year before that. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And this is a very different little side note here. But you heard me just say you'll be fine. I hate when people tell me you'll be fine. Like you always got this. Everything's fine. And I just want to get into this like little thing real quick because I talk to my friends about it a lot. And I've never talked about it on the pod because I have no idea how to bring this up and put it in line with any kind of topic. But that's why this is Yip to my app, because you just get to listen to where my brain goes, when it goes there, when it feels like it. So something I think about a lot is like for me, growing up, like I was a smart kid. Mom homeschooled me before kindergarten. So I went into kindergarten, knowing how to multiply, add, and subtract. I was always like ahead of everything. So I was kind of on autopilot after that. Like after that, I just saw school like a video game and I had to beat my own best high score all the time. And then, I got a full scholarship to college. They paid for my books, like cool. Like I was great. And I got my first job when I was 18, and I'm just really good at getting shit done. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna say that. No, that's who I am. It's what I do. Which is why every time I'm stressed or I have an issue or I'm just like going through it, everyone loves to tell me, you'll be fine. Like you got this. Like you had this last time. And it's like, although that's true, although I was able to figure it out, as I say, every single time, because I'm gonna figure it out, like, can you at least let me be sad, or can you let me feel this stress in this moment instead of try to tell me you'll be fine because you're always fine? Like, I don't think people understand what it takes for the people who are always fine to always be fine. Because even when we say we're fine, we're not. And I hate to sound like those Tumblr girls where it's like, I said I'm fine, but really I'm hurting inside. Like it's not that deep. But it's just a thing of like, can I just feel this for a little bit? Can I just be in this like moment? Like, can I have that? Can I vent to you and you just let me feel this? I feel like that's a big stress that always feels like you're whining and all that every time you try to express this to people because it's like they're like, okay, little Miss Privilege, like sorry, you always have it under control. Like, my bad for believing in you. Like, no. It's not that. Like, I believe in me too. Like, even though I'm bitching and moaning, I believe in me and I know I'm gonna get this shit done. But for me to get this done, like, and all the other times I've got it done, I've also cried for like a day. like I'm not a robot. And I think that for a lot of people who are known as like the productive friend or the one that's always smiles and happy and the one that always just got it together, um, they can relate because we don't always got it together. But I think it has to do more with knowing when to express your emotions and when to like, check your personal stuff at the door. Like I think that's what it's all about. It's not about masking, it's not about hiding anything. It's just like there's a time and place for everything. And when you want to be sad, do that shit in your bed at home by yourself because nobody else cares. There's a realness to it where you're just like the, the world's gonna keep spinning and nobody gives a fuck about your problems and you just got to figure it out. And I am so aware of that that when people say like, "Oh, like you'll just figure it out, you'll be fine," it pisses me off cuz I know that. We all know that. Like all the people who, always figure it out. We all know that. Find the other friend who always has it together. Because what I've learned is that your friends who like aren't usually in a decent mental space, they look at you as the golden child of mental health. And they don't if you're that friend that's always helping, your friends who don't, know how to manage their emotions or don't, know how to be an adult yet, then those aren't the ones you should be going to when you don't have it together. It's not a mutual thing, and that's okay. That's why we're friends with different people, and that's humans were made for community. Like we all go to each other for the things that we lack. We were bartering at some point. It's what we do. And so what I will say is that if you're like me, go to your friends who have their shit together with your stresses because they will relate and they won't say you got this and they won't say like all the typical stuff that I just, complained about. They'll just be like, you know what? Yeah, it is hard. And that's it. You just need someone to relate. That's I feel like at least that's all I need. So that's what I'm that's what I'm saying to you. That's a little something I want to get off my chest. This is the part where I talk about how to set goals and stuff for yourself as if I'm a pro at anything. But if you're willing to listen, tag along. Um, one thing that I realize like really helps me a lot when it comes to goals that I set and just anything I put my mind to is just talking about it all the time. And yeah, already I love to talk, but I think that making your goals something that you can articulate regularly and understand and be able to explain to anyone in any setting makes them a lot more clear to you. Like in a lot of different situations, people ask me like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" I tell them what I do, and then I tell them what I do on the side, and then I tell them where I see it going. And when they ask me questions about it, in those moments, I'm brainstorming on the spot sometimes, like things that I would have never thought of unless I talked about it and they asked me. Like there have been times when, at least before, when I talked about even starting this podcast, and they're like, "Oh, but are you gonna have a name for it? Like, or who do you have for your logos, or who do you plan on having edit them, or when do you plan on recording? Like, don't you think that's a little bit overwhelming? Don't you think that that's like too much on your plate?" And in those moments, I've been able to answer a lot of like really tough questions or questions that are considered tough because so many people have asked me, but they wouldn't have asked me unless I brought it up. And I say that to say like your dreams and goals and all that aren't attainable if you don't make them the center of your life. If you don't do everything with the with the intention of it supporting your goals in some way, shape, or form, then what are you doing? Hmm? What are you doing? And that can be literally everything. Like absolutely everything. When you're intentional, you know how to make everything cater to your needs. Absolutely everything. Even if it's showering or the way that you walk or the way that you present yourself, all that. Like that all adds to your intention. So when I have conversations with people, and I now know how to explain what I want to do with my life and what I want to get done this year and where I see my life going to a 5 year old, to a 50-year old, to a colleague, to a friend, to a passerby, to someone who I'm cool with at the gym. Like when you're able to like they say that you're not an expert at something unless you can explain it to a 5 year old. Like unless you can break things down to the simplest of terms and make it 5 year old understand it, then you don't know what you're talking about. And I think that that applies to your goals too, because it's like how thorough are your goals? How much have you thought about your goals? How much do you understand them and just know them if you can't explain it to literally anyone? So I think that me talking a lot about my my I guess career trajectory is what's helped me pitch myself to the people who matter. That's another thing too. Like I feel like when you're young and in your 20s and figuring out what you want to do with your life, that you need to always have that elevator pitch in your head, especially living in New York. Like because you don't know who you're gonna run into, you don't know who you don't even know who you're talking to half the time. Like you could be talking to someone who looks like they were sleeping on the street for the past week and they're probably a CEO or something or own this crazy company or whatever. You just don't know. So I think that always having an elevator pitch for who you are, like you know when people say like, "Oh, tell me about yourself," and you glitch, like try to fix that. Try to be able to answer and say, "Well, I'm an amazing person, and I'm going to tell you the 5 reasons why." And you could just I call them elevator pitches because that's exactly what it is. Um, in a future episode, I talk about how I can't do small talk, so I try to have like prepared things to always talk about at any given time. I know that if anybody says, "Oh, like, how are you? What's going on?" I know that I can say, like work, podcast, gym, the usual. And if they ask me about any of those things, I can, I have a mini speech for each one at any given time. And it's not because it's the same thing, it's just because I'm always hyper aware of what stage I'm at in this podcast, what stage I'm at in my career, and what stage I'm at in my personal life. I those are things I will always know. So I always have like three things in each of those categories that I can talk about. Like my personal life, I could talk about my dog, I could talk about my friends, and I can talk about I can always talk about my mom, like for whatever reason. I could always do that. I can always talk about family. I can always talk about my apartment. Like there's just a lot of things I can always talk about. Podcast. I can talk about who my next guest is gonna be. I can talk about when my next recording is, or if I'm taking a break, or if I'm pre-scripting at the moment. Just like there's so many things. And so I think that always having those little tiny scripts in your head, and obviously they're not written out. These are just things I keep in mind because I'm someone who sucks at small talk, and I feel like that's helped me at least a little bit, even though it gets me into a spiel. But you asked me, that's your fault. You could have left it at, oh, okay, cool, bye. That's your fault for coming up to me and starting a conversation. I'll make the rules. But yeah, having little elevator pitches. Like I feel like I'm always on Shark Tank. Like I always feel this pressure of being able to answer things. But that could also just be just anxiety. I'm an anxious gal, just like my dog. But that's okay. That is all the way okay. Hmm. You know, I go into like these sing-songy kind of moments a lot, and I feel like it's very me. And I didn't realize that that was me until I, started doing it, in front of my friends and stuff. But like, and when they mimic me, or any of my friends like make a joke and they act like they're talking like me, they either sing in like a sing-songy voice or they sound like a Muppet. And I think that this is a weird little like knowing yourself kind of thing. I think something that's like really important for a lot of people, especially when it comes to like confidence, is knowing who you are in the like what your place is in any given room when you're there. I think that's really important because I feel like a lot of people, if their friends talked about them in the way that mine talk about me, at least to my face, they'd be kind of offended. But I'm so aware of who I am that I'm not offended. Like I know 100% that there are people who wouldn't typically be in my friend group and who I wouldn't be typically be in theirs who are cool with me because I'm that quirky girl that be around who's not gonna snitch about things. who's just she's just chill. Like I'm that friend that like, I do my little sing songy things and they tell their friends like, yeah, she does that sometimes. Like, but she cool though. She cool. She just a little weird. I know I'm that person in those rooms. And I think I like being like to me that's fun. And I think a lot of the reason that people are so freaking sensitive, because this is one thing I'll never get over. People are so damn sensitive for no reason. People are really sensitive because they're not secure in who they are. That like that is one thing stresses me out all the time. People are always like people preach about like, being so secure in themselves and all this stuff. Like, oh, like I'm so secure in who I am. And then go bonkers as soon as somebody points out something that is so obviously true about them. It's like, what? So you're gonna tell me you dyed your hair blue, and when somebody refers to you as the girl with the blue hair, you're gonna bug out? So are you not okay with your hair being blue? This is a very like general example, but it's I've seen stuff like that where it's like, so if you're gonna be offended by the fact that someone described you by a very obvious trait of yours, then are you okay with such trait? You know? Like that's like somebody describe me to someone else and be like, oh, like the Puerto Rican girl, and me being like, what? The Puerto Rican? No, that's exactly what I am. And I'm so okay with being Puerto Rican and I love that I'm Puerto Rican and I'm not offended that that is how you described me. So those are very like bigger I want to simplify it as much as possible so you understand like when you have traits about yourself that are a little quirky, or just different or just not like other people and others notice it and they bring it up because it's so you. Like you wouldn't be you unless you did those things or unless you acted that way. You're not offended at all. Cause you're like, yeah, that's me. I'm the friend that does that. Hey, like I really feel like the reason that people are so freaking sensitive is just because they don't like who they are. So why is that my fault? Why? And this is such a side rant. It really is. But I can't with the Gen Z kids. I can't. I can't. Even though I'm very much in that time frame for when I was born, but it irks me. It irks me so much, and I feel like this is just me throwing stuff out there. I feel like a goal for those people, the Gen Zers, should be to find themselves, figure out who you are, and be okay with it, and don't be mad at anybody else for noticing that you're weird. You're weird. And this isn't to say I'm not weird. I'm all the way weird. And the people who I call my friends love my weird. And they notice it and they they appreciate it. And they maybe wouldn't be my friend if I wasn't so me. And I love me. I love me more than most people love themselves. Because I am so okay with who I am. So that's just such a random little thing. But it's something that's been pissing me off. So if I had to give anyone a New Year's resolution, it's that. Figure yourself out because you're making the rest of us mad. And if you're upset because you don't have yourself figured out, it's that easy. This statement is uncancelable. Okay, I think it's time to peel these babies off because I'm pretty sure these things just dried on my face and they might have just sucked the moisture right back out my face. But, oh, I don't care. I got moisture. Can't even see myself, but I'm sure I look rejuvenated. Okay, so, um, here's another tip. Here's another little tip. I think that this might just be because I am a golden star kid. That's what I call myself because when I was in kindergarten, we had these sticker notebooks. Well, it was a regular notebook and they put stickers on it every time we did a good job or anytime like our homework was like bomb, My book report was pop and everything was great. I like to call myself a golden star kid or like SpongeBob with the golden noodle. That could be completely wrong. The stars on the board because you're a good noodle or good noodle star. Whatever. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anywho, uh, I like to call myself that, and that I like to call myself that, but it's something I noticed that I need. Like I do really well with good feedback and um, well, good feedback and just like rewards in general. So if you could, I mean, and this is also like a symptom of people with I think like ADD, like you reward yourself with every good thing that you do. So like a smaller version of it is like kids in high school where I know some kids who do this. I personally didn't do it because I just love snacks. But people put like an M&M at the end of like every paragraph and you get to eat an M&M every time you like finish a paragraph in your textbook. I would just eat the whole damn bag. I don't have the patience for that. But if you reward yourself with literally anything, even if it's like, you know what, if I make it to the gym today, I am definitely going to take a bubble bath when I get home. Like you have something to work towards. Like nothing is worth doing unless there is either a really, um, either like an end goal that's like super worth it with like a high reward or just like something simple like that. Or like there was a day that I was like going through a whole bunch of edits and I was like, I'm tired. And I was like, okay, well, if I get through, all these edits by this time, I can order myself this thing. Or even put yourself in like situations where you're not even in control of the reward. Like, let's say a food place closes at a certain time. You're like, I don't have a choice but to get this done by this time because this place closes at like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever. And I think that if you're someone who like doesn't know how to follow, your dreams, who doesn't know how to like stick to goals, like even if just small daily goals, then I think that's a good way to do it. Like even for me, like sometimes they're like really basic, like things that you should know. Like if you get all these things done, you could be asleep in bed and with, your skincare done by 10 o'clock. That's like a very basic thing. That's something that should have been done. But because I know that that's something that's hard to do in my day to day, then that's a reward that day. And it might just be on that day because I'll probably be able to get that done any other day. But because that day is a difficult one, that's the reward. And other days, like once again, I say this all the time, money can't buy happiness, but it can help with a lot of things, you know? So like even if it's like, if I get this done in this amount of time, I will buy myself, that shirt that I really wanted, or I'll take myself thrift shopping or something. Or, like it's nice to reward yourself because the thing is, I feel like life is, I mean, obviously everybody knows life is simple as a kid. You do something good and you get a snack or a star or whatever weird rinky dink thing your teacher was giving you at the time. And when you get older, all that goes away. And I think that's why like people just get so sad and depressed and all that. It's just like when you get older, you realize there is no magic in this world. There is like as much as I like to talk about like, oh, like my life is rainbows and stuff. It's not, but I'd like to see it that way when it is the few times, you know. Um I was going somewhere with that. Oh, yes. Life, none of this stuff is sweet. Being an adult, it's not fun. This whole like bills thing, like who the fuck invented that, you know? Like it sucks. A lot of things suck. And you need to create that magic that you felt as a kid. And it was that's silly stuff. It's the same thing with the holidays. Like the holidays only feel like the holidays because your parents made it that way. And bringing it back to a point that I said earlier, everything is the way it is because you make it that way. So if you make your life one full of like rewards and light and love and just joy and happiness and rest, you know, like then that's where your life will be because you deserve it because of the standards you set for yourself. You have to have high standards for yourself because this doesn't work for people with low standards. If you have low standards, you're going to fucking fall apart. But if you can set, you know, attainable but still, you know, challenging goals for yourself and do what it takes to get there, you're going to be fine for as long as you have the self discipline because self discipline is probably the only thing you need when it comes to setting any goal. If you don't have self discipline, like you can't be an adult, that's for sure. But with that also comes, you know, when as an adult you have all this control over your life. Like you can do whatever you want at any time and no one's gonna tell you anything. I mean the police might if you do something illegal, but like, you know, you could do literally anything anytime. Nobody cares. So I feel like if you're someone who's overproductive, I personally don't think that's a thing because I am that person. Um, I think it's really important to schedule rest for yourself. Very, very important. And I think I was telling my friend this the other day, a lot of people who are independent and have the self discipline, they don't like taking breaks because when you take a break, all you could think about is how productive you'd be if you use that time you took taking a break to do the other thing that you've been wanting to do that would, you know, make you happier and, you know, get you closer to your goal. But I tried to replace the words like, what was it? Um, it's not a cheat day. I just anything that has a negative connotation that has to do with taking a break, or even like if you want to call it being lazy or just like, you know, whatever. I like to call it a rest day, and obviously that came from like when you go to the gym and you know you work out and then you get a rest day. But it's like you call everything rest instead of like just sleep or just something that just it just feels like neutral and like that's it. You're just gonna sleep. Like resting is associated with recharging in order to do what you do better. Like that's as simple as I can put it. But if you just say like taking a break, you could take a break after being, you know, less than productive and call it taking a break. You could take a nap and have slept already 10 hours that day and that nap is doing nothing for you. You need to rest. That's one thing that I've also uh had to teach myself to do. That's like, you know what? If your eyes keep getting low when you're editing a video or when you're writing an essay for college, close the laptop. Because whatever the hell you put together right now, you're going to look at it and be like, that is a whole 2 hours. I should have been sleeping because what the fuck is this? The amount of times I've been editing the colors on the photos and stuff that I take. And I wake up and I'm like, last night's eyes aren't this morning's eyes because what the hell is that? What is that? I certainly didn't do it. I don't know who did that because it wasn't me. It's good to just go to sleep. I'm someone, I need the apartment to be clean all the time. And I'll be on my couch and I'm just looking at the clutter. But if my body physically isn't able, I just, it's going to take me double the time to do the thing I need to do when I can do it in half the time if I just wake up bright and early like a spring chicken and use the time that I would have spent, you know, half assed doing whatever I need to do and, you know, use that time to sleep, wake up, do the damn thing. Get it over with because you're using all your energy. So rest. That's important. Take the time to rest and make sure that that rest is getting used for good things. Even if that means resting in order to be able to socialize, because I'm a busy person. So I just work, 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 work. And when I have a break, I hang out with friends. And then I realize, fuck, I didn't have a single time to rest because I will work, 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 work. Weekend starts, work on the podcast, hang out with friends, hang out with more friends, go to the gym, whatever, and then start my 9 to 5 again. And I'm like, yo, my weekend wasn't even my weekend. And I have no time to rest. So truly rest. You need the time to actually rest because rest doesn't just mean um, just hanging out with friends and doing things that you would be if you weren't working. So I say that to say that you should also be resting in order to charge up to completely enjoy your leisure time. I think that's really important because if you have the leisure time and you're half asleep the whole time or you're having half-ass conversation with your friends or you're not present, then that leisure time is just as worthless as that work you were doing that other night with your eyes falling low. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't 100% be there, if you can't be present completely, both with your friends and with your job and with your boss and with yourself, then none of it is worth doing. Nothing productive comes out of a tired brain. So make sure you get your rest. And like it doesn't mean that you're always gonna have that rest, even if it means like use the winter to like charge up for the year. There's just different ways to go about it. I mean, of course you need to sleep. Don't get me wrong, you need to sleep. I'm not saying that you can go fucking like a whole summer running on 4 hours of sleep every night. It's not what I'm saying. But take the time to rest when you have it. That's one thing. Because like I say this all the time, especially being from New York, you're just on go mode all the time. Whenever you have the time, you're like, you spend it like it's money. Honestly, like, yeah, like you have the time and you're like, well, can squeeze someone in here. And then you're like, wow, I have 20 minutes between when I leave the gym and I got to meet this person for this meeting. Whatever, that's fine. Those are 20 minutes that I'll have and I'll try to nap during those. And then you get a half-ass nap and then you attend a half-ass meeting and you become a half-ass person. And I think that that's a nice place to end this. Go into the year being a full ass person. No half-assing here. Don't half-ass anything. Don't half-ass your life. Don't half-ass your love. Don't half-ass your job. Be a full ass. Be the biggest ass you could be this year. Yup. Be the biggest ass you know. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. All your support goes a super, super long way. Think about it like a really oily, buttery lotion, and you just need a smallest bit. Just, just take a big old glob, actually. Just slap it on my page, Like, comment, subscribe. Say nice things. Do whatever. Just be nice. It's free to be nice. Add that to your New Year's resolution. Give me full ass compliments in the comments. Full ass likes. All that. Tell your friends to follow. Yeah. So once again, thank you. Can't say thank you enough. And I'm just happy to be, doing what it is. And I will see you next week. Bye.